This video, I'm going to be showing you my full workflow for OpenAI's new O1 Pro Mode model. So I'm going to show you how to take the code that O1 generates in ChatGPT, and you can actually apply that as soon as possible into your project. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is let me just show you the app. Okay, so this is the starter template. One of the things that we have is we have a to-do. Okay, so this is a fully, this uses Supabase. Okay, so we're using Postgres. This is just a very basic to-do, right? So I could add a to-do here, and that's going to add a to-do, right? But one of the things that I would like is if I could add sub-to-dos here, okay? So in my O1 workflow, this is how I will go about this request, okay? So I'm gonna go back over to this page here, or this window, and you'll see on the left, I have ChatGPT. Okay, so I'm just gonna do new chat. You'll see I have ChatGPT O1 Pro Mode selected. Again, you can try this with O1. I think you'll still get pretty good results, but you may notice that I do get a bit better results with Pro Mode. Okay, I've done a lot of A/B testing here, and I'm telling you, Pro Mode is like absolutely ridiculous, especially with this kind of workflow. And then I'm going to go over to repo prompts here, and I'm just going to go full screen here for a second so you can kind of see everything that's going on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually just going to clear my selection. You'll see everything is gone. I'm also going to clear these up here, okay? And what we're going to be doing here is we're basically going to build the entire piece of context that we're going to feed into our request to ChatGPT, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually just going to select this folder here. Okay, so this is my actual project directory here, and it's going to select every single thing in here, except it's going to ignore anything that I have in this filters. Okay, so you can see, this gets rid of things like node modules, things like that. So you don't have all of that extra bulky context that's going to be completely irrelevant. Okay, so I've kind of set up that ignore file here. You can see, I'm ignoring some things like my migrations folder, my cursor rules file, package lock.json, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So you can see when I select this at the bottom here, this is a little bit small, but you can see that's about 47,000 tokens of context. So one thing to keep in mind, the requests to O1 Pro can fit up to 128K tokens of context. Okay. So we are in fact within that window. I typically have been keeping my requests just for reference at about 60K tokens ish. That's about where I'll cut things off. You can kind of get more efficient with those. You can also max those out a little bit more. That's kind of the sweet spot for me. I think I might try and figure out my workflow to kind of get that number to be down so things are a little bit faster. But this is kind of how I'm working right now. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go to this top right area here, and I actually have 3 stored prompts that I want to use for every single request. I have my O1 Pro, my base prompts here. I'll talk about all these in just a second here. I have my template here, my cursor rules template. Okay, so I'm actually going to be injecting into my O1 request. I'm going to be using the cursor rules file here. Okay, so I am a very detailed cursor ruler. So you can see this is 481 lines of all sorts of cursor rules for my project. This includes things like, project structure, rules for typing, for envs, for front end components, for server components, backend requests, every single thing that I want the AI to have context about when I'm working in cursor. I have really detailed, written out in detail in my cursor rules file. And so what I'm actually doing here is if we actually go look this up here, you'll see, and this is a little bit small, but you'll see I just have the entire file in here. Okay, so that's going to give O1 some really, really good instructions of how the code should actually work. And this is going to dramatically increase the performance, right? We're going to get much better code because O1 actually knows what it needs to do. Okay, so my O1 base prompt here is it just says you are an expert software engineer. You're tasked with following my instructions. Use the included project instructions as general guide. Okay, so really general stuff, but just want to make sure that it is included. The other one we're going to turn on here is O1 format. Okay, and this one matters a ton. Okay, if I bring up the edit section, I'll kind of show you what's going on here. Okay, so you can see we have this prompt here that says you will respond with 2 sections, a summary section and an XML section. So this is super important because this is what's going to determine how O1 is going to respond to us. And in order for this workflow to work, we need O1 to give us an XML response enclosed in a bunch of tags so that we can correctly we can copy and paste that XML response. And what we're going to be using is we're going to be using that O1 XML parser tool that I built. Okay, so you can see this is running on localhost 3001. Okay, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to paste that XML here. with whatever your project director is, and that is going to automatically apply all of those changes to your code base. Okay, super cool. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to hit cancel because I don't want to edit that. And then the last piece here is we actually have our file tree. So if I just copy this and paste in here really quick, you'll see that repo prompt actually generates our full project file tree here, which is super cool because that really helps O1 understand where everything goes, right? So your code is in the right place. It knows what it has access to, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And then in the instructions here, we're going to actually say what we want. Okay, and before we get to our instructions, what you'll notice is we now have 50.7k thousand tokens. So we added several thousand tokens of context, primarily from like the cursor rules file. Okay, but all of that's going to be really important to get the results that we want. Okay, especially this format. If you don't get the format back how you want it, you're not going to be able to actually use the XML parsing tool, and your workflow is going to be a little more cumbersome. Okay. So I'm trying to remember what I even said. So we want to add sub to dos. Okay. So what we're going to do here in the instructions, and I'm going to use flow voice for this, is I'm just going to kind of talk to this about what I want. In my app, I would like to add the ability to have sub to dos. So please help me implement that into my app. Okay, so sometimes I'll like ramble for like a minute or two about what I want. This is a pretty straightforward request. So we're just going to be using this one. So what you can do at this point is you can see here, if I click on this arrow, you'll see we have include save prompt, include files, include user instructions, include file tree. Okay, so this is going to include all of these blue prompts. That's what this first checkbox does. The second checkbox is going to include all the files that we added here. Okay, great. User instructions are going to be whatever is in this text box here, and then our green file tree here, that is what this last one is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit copy, and this is going to copy all 51,000 tokens over to my clipboard. We're going to go, let's actually just use the full ChatGPT window for a little bit more room. Okay, so we're going to paste this in, and you can see here, if I go to the scroll bar here, this is our entire request. Okay, so this is a monster. You can see we have those meta prompts. We have all of our code base injected into here. And what we're going to do is we're going to send this off. So what you can see it's scrolling down all the way. By the way, OpenAI, if any of your engineers are watching, if you could make this not like a smooth scroll, just make that an instant scroll. That would be super great because waiting for that can get really annoying. But what you'll see here is that O1 is going to start working here. This is going to take typically about 2 to 3 minutes, depending on how big your request is. Okay, so on a 50,000 token request, it's probably going to be closer to 2 or 3 minutes. So what's going to happen is O1 is going to respond back to us in the format that we specify in O1 format. Okay, in this kind of meta prompt that we're using as part of our pre-saved formats. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually talk about this while O1 works. So you'll see here's how you should structure the XML. And what we're doing here is we're defining the XML structure that we want O1 Pro to respond with. Okay, so you can see we have code changes. So everything's going to be in this code changes tag here. You can see we have changed files, and then all of the files are going to have a file tag with the summary, okay, an operation, a path, and the actual file code. Okay, so what's going to happen here is that we're going to get a nice little summary. Okay, you can remember 2 sections, summary section. Then we're also going to get the XML section back as a markdown code block. Okay, so let's see. Looks like O1 Pro is still thinking. Okay, that's good. That's test time compute at work. That is the entire point of a model like O1. That means it is doing work for us. Okay, you can almost think of it like a human engineer. We gave our developer a task and now they're working. Okay. So what we need to do once we get the response back is we're actually just going to hit the copy button, and we're going to go into our parser. Okay, and what I'm actually going to do right now is I'm going to jump into cursor right here, and I'm going to do get the working directory here. Okay, you have 2 options when you're working in this tool. You can either set the directory in as actually I need to drag the so this is the repository for the XML parser here. Okay. So you can see what you want to do is you want to type pwd for print working directory here, and then that's going to give you your directory, and you can either post that in the UI or you can post that in a .env file. Okay, so the UI is going to take priority. If you don't have one in the UI, it'll take whatever is set as the environment variable there. Okay, so let's go over to our tool. We'll just use the UI because that makes for a good demo. Let's see if O1 is done. Okay, so the request is done, and you'll see this like big bulky box here. This copy code button, okay, so we're literally just going to hit copy code. This is the XML response that we got back from O1 Pro. So what we're going to do, I'm not going to apply this yet. I'm just going to paste it in and go to the very top here. You can see we got the changes that we need for our entire feature request, okay? And then if I scroll up here, what you'll notice is if we go a little bit down, also OpenAI, if you're listening to this, it'd be really nice because these requests are so big. If there was like a arrow that could take you to the start of each message, because some of these requests get kind of crazy. But anyways, you can see this is the summary section, okay? So this gives us a pretty quick little glance at what's going on. You can see the model here updated our database schema. Okay, so we're gonna have to do a migration here, which is totally fine. That's expected. You can see it's tweaking our page.tsx. Okay, so this is the to-do page, and it's also tweaking some of the actions. Okay, so it's updating some of those CRUD queries that we're going to do, and then it's even updating the component for the to-do list. Okay, and then you can see again we just have that entire XML block, which is what we need for this apply to work. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to show you just to prove that this is kind of working how we would expect. If we go, I'm doing an O1 testing branch here, so I'll publish this branch. You'll see our Git tree is empty. We have no changes, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our XML parser here, and we're going to hit apply, and you'll see changes were applied successfully here. And what we'll do is we'll go over to our repository, and you can see we now have instantly applied all of those changes. So let's kind of go through that and almost do like a code review just to see what's going on here. Obviously, depending on the request, you're going to want to like review this to make sure, right? It's almost like if your AI is making you a PR, right? You want to review those pull requests. But basically, it looks like everything's good. You can see we're getting the sub to-dos. We're building all those CRUD actions here for sub to-dos. You can see this is updating the UI. Okay, that's great. You can see we got some helpers here. Our DB file. Okay, so you can see like even little things like making sure we're correctly importing the updated table here to our schema, right? Exports, minor things like that. All of this is getting tackled, which is pretty crazy. You know, and that's a combination of our prompting, as a combination of just the raw power of O1 Pro, all that kind of stuff. So what I need to do, because it actually generated a new table here, I need to just generate that schema, npm run db generate. Okay, I'm using Drizzle. Drizzle's the best. Shout out to the team at Drizzle. Love you guys. And then we're going to migrate that. Okay, so I didn't show you this. So I already set up like a Supabase project and a clerk, and I have those envs all set up. Okay, and so what I'm going to do here is now we're going to go to our app, and we're going to go see what our errors are. Okay, so this is kind of the last step. O1 one-shotted as much of this as possible, and what we're going to do now at this point is we're going to kind of work in Cursor and sort of take the last 10% of issues that need to be solved. We're going to go kind of handle that. Okay, so it looks like we have an issue in sub-to-dos schema. Sub-to-dos schema, so let's go open that up. And let's see what our error is. Okay, so it seems as if server actions must be async functions here. Okay, so we're getting some sort of weird error there. So what I can do here is now we're just going to work in our good friend Cursor here. And I'm also going to run npm run type check here just to see if maybe we have a typing error somewhere. This sometimes can catch those errors. And it looks like if we use Cursor chat here, we can get that work in here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click through. Okay, so this is actually, so O1 actually just put use server here. We just got to get rid of that. Okay, and you can see Cursor figured that out really quickly. We should now be able to go back to our app. Okay, and everything's going to work. So you can see we got the UI for sub to-dos. Now let's actually test if this works. Okay, so let's just say I have test. Let's just do sub to do test 1. Let's try adding that. Okay, it looks like create works. Let's verify if we do a refresh here that's actually updating here. Great, that is. If we go to our to-dos here, or our Supabase project, refresh things, you'll see we have a sub to-dos table. All of that data is in there. Okay, so it looks like everything's hooked up. Let's test deletes really quick. Let's just do test 2 here. Let's do an add. Let's see if we can check that. Hit refresh. Okay, so update works. Delete. refresh, okay, delete works. So what we were able to do there was we were able to take that really basic request here and O1 one-shotted almost every single thing. The only thing we had to do was go in cursor and we had to just get rid of that use server action, but we were just able to ask that use server directive, we were able to ask the AI in cursor what that problem was, right? We just copy and pasted that error message, really simple one-line removal, boom, we got every single thing we needed, okay? So obviously because I'm having to film this, the task took a little bit longer than it really normally would, right? But you can imagine in a normal workflow, you can go from those, building the context here in repo prompt to pasting it over to ChatGPT to waiting for that response from O1 Pro to pasting it into the XML parser and then going and making those last little tweaks in cursor. You can do that really fast, right? So the reason I wanted to film this was because this is the fastest way that I've been able to come up with to get reliable results that can sort of one shot or kind of 80 to 90% shot these entire feature requests. And you can actually even chain these and ask for multiple features at once. And O1 can't, like I'm telling you guys, this model is absolutely crazy. O1 Pro mode is pretty insane. So that is the stack that you need in order to execute this workflow, okay? So again, the idea is you go from natural language instructions to, the entire code getting written from O1 Pro, right? You're avoiding things like having to copy and paste. You're avoiding things like having to go manually build your context windows. You're avoiding, not just copy and pasting into ChatGPT, but out, right? So you're getting all of the speed upgrades that you can by using this workflow. I've been doing this for like 2 days now. It's honestly kind of insane. I'm really hoping OpenAI doesn't nerf O1 Pro, and I'm also really hoping that OpenAI makes whatever O1 Pro is available via the API. Obviously, they're doing their little 12 days of Christmas thing. I'm hoping one of those days sneaks this model into the API, so that would be great. So that's the end of the workflow section. I'm going to talk for just a little bit more about some of the ins and outs of this for any of you that are curious about that. Okay, so we're going to talk about speed, we're going to talk about efficiency, we're going to talk about performance, everything that you need to know to maximize your coding ability with O1 Pro. This is also applicable to O1 standard if you don't have the $200 a month Pro mode. But just if you do notice performance issues when you try it with regular O1, Pro mode is significantly better. So I do just want to point that out at the very start here. So let's talk about the stack that we're going to be using here. Okay, so we're going to be using a tool called Repo Prompt. Okay, repoprompt.com is how you find this. This is a free download, and it's great because it allows us to really easily copy large pieces of context from our code base on our local machine into ChatGPT. Okay, that's a big kind of speed issue because you don't want to have to go manually copy and paste things back and forth. So what Repo Prompt is going to do is going to allow us to build really sophisticated kind of pieces of context. We're talking, you can see down here, 50.7K tokens. Okay, so we're going to be working with lots and lots of tokens. That's one of the nice things about Pro Mode. You get 128K tokens of context, so you can work with really big requests. And because they're unlimited, right, you can do a lot of different things. Okay, so that's kind of the first tool that we're going to be using. One of the tools that I use is called flowvoice.ai. Okay, flowvoice.ai. This is the speech to text tool that I use, so I will use this quite often. If you've seen some of my videos before, you've probably noticed me using that previously, but I'll use that to kind of increase the speed at which I can work, right? Speaking is about 3 times faster than typing, so that comes in handy quite a bit. You're also going to need my O1 XML parser. Okay, so I built this tool to tackle the other direction. Okay, so Repo Prompt kind of takes us from codebase into ChatGPT, but we need a tool to take us from inside of ChatGPT, and once we have the XML response back from O1, we need a fast way to apply that diff to our codebase. Okay, and so my O1 XML parser tool here will get you all set up. So go to that repo, that's github.com/mckwrigley/O1-XML-parser here. Okay, I have a little quick start guide so you can get up and running. It's a really simple tool if you kind of follow this blueprint, but that will allow you to take the responses that you get back from O1 and apply it really easily and instantly so that you don't have to go copy and paste everything from here into your IDE, okay? So we're also going to be using Cursor. You can pretty much use whatever IDE you want. This workflow is actually not super cursor dependent, but kind of at the end of my workflow, I do like to work on some of those kind of small last final tweaks with Cursor tab, Cursor chat, things like that. So if you are familiar with a cursor heavy workload, one of the steps that this largely replaces is kind of your cursor composer type workflow. Okay, so we're kind of going to be getting away from cursor composer and replacing that with this kind of O1 Pro step. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about prompting with this model. Okay, so I cannot emphasize this enough. If you lazy prompt this model, you're going to get worse results. Okay, so the trick is, how do you put the time in to come up with the fastest process you can to reliably get good results from the model? Okay, and been testing this a bunch. A lot of this is based on my existing workflow, or the workflow that I've been using before I began using this one, which is all done in cursor. And a big part of that is going to be your cursor rules. So I'm actually just going to show you. I think, yeah, let's just take a look at the cursor rules project. So you can see I get really detailed here. I outline my tech stack, and one of the things that I want to emphasize too is that I have picked a tech stack that works really, really good with AI models. So we're pretty much we're using TypeScript exclusively, which AI models excel at. We're using really popular library, right? We're using Next.js, we're using Tailwind, Postgres and Supabase are well known at this point. Clerk authentication, obviously Stripe. Okay, so everywhere that we're writing code, kind of the core foundation, the very, level one of our code is something that models are really good at understanding, which is part of why we've chosen the tech stack that we've chosen, right? This is what I work with. As you can see, I've really let the model know here. I've let the model know how I structure my project, which is pretty nice. And then of course we have with the with repo prompt, we also include the file trees. Okay, so O1 Pro is getting a really good context and really good feel for like how everything is structured, which is great. You can see, I'm doing everything from telling the model how to import things. How do I want files named? How should you handle envs? How do I want types handled, right? I work with TypeScript. So how do I want types filed? I have all these front end rules, right? Here's how you should do components. Here's how you should organize components. Here's how you should fetch data. Here's when you should use server components. Here's when you should use client components, right? Here's how data schemas are. Here's an example of a data schema. So, how to write that code. This is an incredible way to work. Okay, so this has been powering my cursor workflow for quite often. This is basically saying, like, almost as if I added somebody in my team, like, hey, here's our tech stack and here's how to use it. Like, if you've never seen this before, here's like everything you need to know. And what happens is when you pass this context to the model, it knows how to work, right? It takes whatever your request is and it says, okay, the user has outlined for me how how I should write the code, how it should be organized, why we're doing things the way we do it, all that kind of stuff. So if you do in fact use it, and again, you can look at this cursor files on my my template repo here. That file is included here. If you do kind of want to see an example of that, you will obviously have to customize this for your own project, right? If you're using a completely different tech stack for me, totally fine. I do recommend this like if you're especially if you're not a developer or something and you kind of haven't formulated your own, you're just getting started with this stuff. It's a really great, tech stack. This is all popular stuff, very standard. We're not doing anything weird here, so I'm not like throwing some like random stuff at you guys. Like, this is all very popular stuff. So it's the kind of thing where if you ask AI models or you go into Perplexity or whatever, you do some Googles, you're gonna find resources for this. This is all good stuff. But the point there is, if you want to get requests, that are as good as the one you just saw here, you're really going to need to prompt. And the best way that you can instantly upgrade your prompt there is, of course, using kind of the format that I just showed you. And then, of course, the other thing you'll really need, and I'm actually going to do this right now, is I need to put this in the repository here. So you guys are going to see me do some code really quick. So what we're actually going to do here is we're just going to go to the README. I'm not going to do this with O1 because it's literally just a single copy and paste. But I'm going to do the XML prompt. Okay, and what we're going to do here is we're just going to paste that in there. Add O1 XML prompt. Okay, so now you guys can go copy and paste that prompt, which is great. That would be really annoying to decipher from the video. Okay, so if you go to the XML parser here, we go to the README, you will see this is the format here for the prompt. So you'll see that that's kind of annoying that the styling's a little weird, but that's okay. You can just literally just go like this, copy paste the entire thing, and then put that into your instance of repo prompt. Where's my repo prompt? It's under this, isn't it? Okay. So that's going to go into, new, and then you're going to want to create one called O1 format or like format or something like that, right? That's going to go in there. And of course, you're going to want to attach those. So I don't want to ramble too much here, but the really important things is you want to use O1 Pro. Okay. I know people aren't going to want to, if you don't use these models professionally for coding purposes, it may not be worth the price tag for you, which is totally fine. Then you'll use it with O1. Let me know how things work, because I literally have been doing this for 2 days and it's super reliable in O1 Pro. If it's not reliable in O1, let me know, because I would be curious. I did do A/B testing. I think I mentioned that already. And it worked for the most part, but O1 Pro definitely takes it to a new level. Again, repo prompt, whisper flow, cursor. Make sure you clone the XML parser here. Okay, you really have to make sure that you put the time in to build those cursor rules. I'm telling you, this is gonna like materially impact the quality that you get. The O1 formatter is an absolute requirement. You cannot get around it. You will not get the XML format that you need for this tool if you don't use that prompt. Okay. And of course, this is O1 base. I'm not actually gonna include this anymore. This is like, you could actually probably improve this a little bit. But yeah, this is my workflow, guys. I will probably do some more videos over the coming week or so to show you this a little bit more in action and like production grade use cases. Obviously, we just did a silly little test here, but the point is I just wanted to show you how it works. So if you found that helpful, great. Takeoff. This is what I spend most of my time on here. I really love teaching people. I love teaching AI skills. We have a lot of good courses up right now. There's a ton of updates coming up, but we're also going to be having this O1 workflow course that I'll show you a couple more tricks in. So if you found that helpful, you may want to check out Takeoff.